Overrated. Overrated. Overrated.
UConn's first loss of the season to Notre Dame has coach Geno Auriemma fuming. Fans are calling his team, and star Paige Bueckers, overrated. This comes as Auriemma, now the winningest coach in college basketball history, faces criticism. With no championship since 2016 and recent digs at Caitlin Clark, UConn's struggles are under the spotlight.
That takes some of the pressure off of Paige. Sometimes she's her worst enemy, and she over-penetrates to try to get something in traffic and get to the free throw line and blah, blah, blah. If you're going to play her the way they played her, which I think is what she's going to see a lot of.
Is Geno Auriemma's reign slipping? With UConn's struggles, Paige Bueckers underperforming, and criticism of stars like Caitlin Clark, questions arise. Is he setting up Paige for failure? Or are we witnessing the decline of college basketball's greatest coach?
Like I said earlier, they actually had odds that, she was like third or fourth in the betting odds to be MVP at a WNBA. That's such a slap in the face to every WNBA player. It's unbelievable, right?
Picture this. It's 2016, and Geno Auriemma reigns supreme, leading UConn to their fourth straight national championship with superstar Breanna Stewart. His Huskies were a dynasty, boasting 11 national titles, endless conference championships, and a pipeline of All-Americans turned WNBA stars. Auriemma's name was synonymous with dominance and excellence in women's college basketball. Fast forward to today, and the once unshakable legacy faces questions amid shifting tides.
Will likely always have, as long as he's coaching, the greatest talent that is in women's basketball. And we've seen Stewie come out of there, we've seen Nafisa, the list goes on and on, Maya Moore, the list of UConn stars are endless. He will always get.
Since their 2016 championship, UConn has failed to reclaim the title, a shocking 7-year drought for a program synonymous with dominance. For most teams, this might seem normal, but for Geno Auriemma's Huskies, it's a glaring anomaly. So, what's gone wrong? Auriemma's once revolutionary coaching style now feels outdated, as rival programs embrace modern offensive and defensive strategies. Meanwhile, UConn clings to its old-school playbook, and the results are telling. The recent loss to lower-ranked Notre Dame is a prime example. The Huskies, featuring supposedly the nation's best player, Paige Bueckers, looked out of sync. This wasn't an isolated incident either. UConn has stumbled in games they once dominated with ease. The once invincible dynasty is beginning to look vulnerable, raising questions about Auriemma's ability to adapt to today's game.
We need other contributions, and Paige is going to try to carry the team by herself when she thinks there aren't a lot of those contributions. And that's not good for her, and that's not good for us.
Is this the beginning of the end for Geno Auriemma's dynasty? The cracks are undeniable. Players who once flocked to UConn now opt for other programs, and the Huskies' aura of invincibility is fading fast. Yet, amidst this uncertainty, Auriemma achieved a historic milestone, becoming the winningest coach in college basketball history. It's a remarkable achievement that cements his legacy, but it feels bittersweet. While his career win total soars, UConn's on-court dominance has waned. They're no longer the unstoppable force that struck fear into opponents, leaving fans questioning if the dynasty's best days are truly behind them.
Geno Auriemma, Caitlin Clark again. The world turns. It's Caitlin Clark's world. We just live on planet Caitlin.
We're left with a paradox. Geno Auriemma, reaching the pinnacle of individual achievement, while his UConn program faces undeniable decline. It's a fascinating moment in basketball history, watching a legend navigate a changing landscape. But this story goes beyond wins and losses. To truly understand UConn's struggles, we must look closer at the players, especially one who was destined to be the next big thing.
Bueckers has been front and center in the women's basketball media landscape. There is so much hype around her, and a lot of people have a microscope on her and the UConn Huskies. A lot of people are expecting Paige to win her first national title this year with UConn before she does declare for the WNBA.
What happens when talent clashes with an outdated system? Paige Bueckers joined UConn with immense promise, but her recent struggles raise questions. Is the program that once elevated her now the very thing limiting her true potential?
With Paige Bueckers and the UConn Huskies front and center this season in women's basketball, some fans are starting to question Geno Auriemma's coaching style and wondering if it's truly what's best for Paige.
Rewind to 2020. Paige Bueckers was the star of women's basketball, dazzling on high school courts with nearly 23 points per game and leading her Minnesota team to a state championship. Winning the Naismith High School Player of the Year, her greatness seemed inevitable.
Having a good season so far. I don't think it's her greatest performance or her greatest season so far, and she's struggled in a couple of these games.
At first, Paige Bueckers seemed destined to fulfill the hype. Her freshman year at UConn was electrifying. She averaged 20 points, nearly 6 assists, and 5 rebounds per game, leading the team to deep tournament runs. UConn's next superstar had arrived, but this season tells a different story. Bueckers' stats have dipped, with her scoring 18.9 points per game. Still solid, but something feels off, especially in crucial matchups. Against Holy Cross, she managed just 11 points, and against Louisville, a mere 8. For a player of her caliber, these performances raise serious questions. Is it pressure, system limitations, or something deeper that's holding her back in big moments?
Geno Auriemma surprisingly called, for lack of a better way of describing it, called out Paige Bueckers. And yeah, it was a bit of a surprise, kind of doing it almost out of the blue in a halftime team talk. And you would have thought maybe it's something to kind of spur her on. It did not do that.
So, what's going on? Basketball analysts have a few theories. One major issue is Paige Bueckers' lack of aggression on the court. She's been playing more passively, deferring to teammates instead of taking control. It's as if she's lost the instinct that once made her so special. But here's the twist. Could it be more than just Bueckers? Some are starting to question whether Geno Auriemma's system is the real problem. His old-school approach worked wonders for years, but as the game evolves, is it possible that his rigid style is stifling Bueckers' natural talents?
Basically said, well, Paige just likes to stand around. She's not really aggressive and she's not going to go after the ball. So that's just what Paige likes to do. He kind of threw her under the bus. And a lot of fans are starting to notice that Geno says a lot of things to the media about his team, about his players that are starting to rub certain people the wrong way.
Geno Auriemma himself has acknowledged Paige Bueckers' untapped potential, mentioning practice sessions where she shoots 75% from the floor and 60% from three-point range. Remarkable numbers. So why isn't she replicating that efficiency in games? It's beginning to look like Bueckers is a square peg trying to fit into Auriemma's round hole. Her pass-first mentality and efficiency-focused style don't quite align with the aggressive, dominant approach that built UConn's dynasty. While she still leads the team in scoring, that game-changing spark, the ability to take over at will, seems to be missing.
Geno's coaching style is affecting Paige Bueckers and the trajectory of her career and has maybe halted her a little bit in becoming the best player that she can possibly become.
The Paige Bueckers puzzle remains unsolved, and as she struggles to reach her full potential, it's hard not to wonder if UConn's system is a factor. Are we witnessing a clash between old-school coaching and new-school talent?
Only his players that need to perform well to get this championship. I think that he might need to change his tune a little bit and adapt a little bit to the new age style of women's basketball.
As Bueckers and UConn work to find their rhythm, another story is unfolding. Across the country, a young star is proving what can happen when raw talent meets the right system.
It's the worst part about new fans. You know, they have no perspective. There's no context. So they just say ridiculous nonsense.
While one star struggles, another shines brighter than ever. Remember when Geno Auriemma said Caitlin Clark's game wouldn't translate to the WNBA? He's probably wishing he could take those words back right about now. Oh wait, he just did on live TV.
College career that Caitlin had that ignited a tremendous amount of attention, an incredible phenomenon that very rarely happens, and it certainly changed the landscape.
Before Caitlin Clark even stepped foot on a WNBA court, Geno Auriemma was quick to dismiss her potential. He claimed her style of play wouldn't work at the pro level, and even said her fans were delusional about her prospects. Talk about a cold take.
It's funny to listen to the fever management moan about physical fouls whenever, anytime I moan about the game being too physical. There's always somebody on that staff saying that I'm so what goes around comes around.
Fast forward to Caitlin Clark's debut season, and it's clear who the delusional one was. Clark didn't just adapt to the WNBA, she dominated it. Let's break down her insane rookie campaign. 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game. That's not just good for a rookie, that's elite for any player in the league. But Clark wasn't done there. She shattered 62 records, including 337 assists in a single season, setting a new WNBA rookie record. She also hit 122 three-pointers, another rookie record. Just for good measure, Clark became the first rookie in WNBA history to record not one, but 2 triple-doubles. It wasn't just fans taking notice. Even her WNBA peers were quick to sing her praises. Paige Bueckers herself had to give credit where it was due, saying,
Caitlin brought so much new attention to the rise in women's college basketball and the WNBA and women's sports in general. I feel like the weight of the world is on her shoulders, and she just has this heavy burden to carry, and she does it with grace and humility.
So how wrong could one legendary coach be? Turns out, pretty darn wrong. Caitlin Clark's rookie season wasn't just impressive, it was historic. She finished 4th in the MVP race, made the All-WNBA first team, and took home Rookie of the Year honors. Not bad for a player whose game supposedly wouldn't translate, huh? Clark's success doesn't just prove Auriemma wrong, it exposes a fundamental flaw in his thinking. The women's game has evolved, and Clark represents the new wave of talent reshaping basketball. Her ability to score from anywhere, her court vision, and her flair for the dramatic. These are the skills driving the sport forward.
Wants to know, if Caitlin Clark played for Geno, would he let her shoot logo threes?
Should I answer that?
Go ahead.
Hell no. Okay. Like, he didn't even let us dribble. Like, not the high pass. We were playing triangle, pass, screen away, pinch post.
I bet we came off five pick and rolls our whole career.
Here's the thing. Caitlin Clark's story is just beginning. As impressive as her rookie season was, it feels like she's only scratched the surface of her potential. And that should have the rest of the league shaking in their sneakers.
I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. I feel like there's just so many areas that I want to improve in and to continue to get in the gym and work on that every single day.
As Clark dazzles fans and confounds critics, a once unshakable basketball dynasty finds itself on unfamiliar ground. What happens when the innovators of yesterday become the roadblocks of today? Geno Auriemma built UConn into a powerhouse. But as the game evolves, is his old-school approach holding the sport back?
However, times are much different than they were when Geno started coaching. One, I don't think it's the greatest look for him to continue to say some of these things in the media, especially with the kind of spotlight that is on Paige right now. And I do think that some of the spotlight that's on her and some of the pressure that a lot of media people have put on her is unwarranted. I don't think it's fair. She's a great player, but I think all of the comparisons and things that we've heard and people trying to make her Caitlin Clark when she's not.
Let's look at the facts. Women's basketball is changing fast. Players like Caitlin Clark aren't just breaking records, they're reshaping how the game is played. Clark's long-range shooting and flashy passes have fans glued to their screens. She's not alone either. A new generation of players is pushing the boundaries of what's possible on the court. And guess what? Fans are loving it. The WNBA is seeing record attendance and viewership, with Clark's rookie season with the Indiana Fever playing a big part in that. She's not just attracting hardcore basketball fans, she's bringing in new viewers who might never have watched a game before.
More and more fans to this league, people that have maybe never watched the WNBA before, and it kind of takes your breath away.
This surge in popularity isn't just happening at the pro level. Women's college basketball is booming. It's not just the traditional powerhouses making waves. Teams from smaller schools are catching attention with exciting, dynamic play. Coaches like Auriemma need to adapt. The smart ones are embracing fast-paced, player-centric styles, allowing their players to showcase their skills instead of relying on rigid systems. Flexibility and adaptability are key in this evolving game.
Necessarily seem to be pushing the right buttons with Paige. Again, we don't know what's going on in the locker room, and they might have a great relationship. However, Paige is in the UConn system that has been set in place since the 90s. There is a certain system of UConn basketball, and the players that come into that fit into that system, and you have to have a certain mindset, a certain skill set, a certain whatever. It is a well-oiled machine, and it has worked.
Auriemma seems stuck in his ways. His once effective structured approach now appears outdated, while other teams embrace spacing and three-pointers.
Until recently, there are teams. Iowa beat them in the Final Four last season. South Carolina has been on a tear. We have LSU. Tennessee is back in the mix. We have Notre Dame coming up. We have TCU. We have Duke. I'm going to call out the two teams that Ariana and Aaliyah are on. There are these great programs who are taking a new age style of basketball when it comes to coaching, when it comes to system, and when it comes to how you're letting your players play. That maybe Geno does need to adapt a little.
The big question is whether Auriemma can evolve and adapt his coaching style to fit the new era of women's basketball. Innovation isn't just optional, it's essential. The most successful programs will blend traditional fundamentals with the excitement of modern basketball. As the sport continues to evolve, one thing is clear. The future of women's basketball is bright, but will the old guard, like Auriemma, keep up?
Always get that talent, but how he coaches that talent, how he empowers that talent, how he finds the right buttons. Sometimes being so tough on a player, sometimes throwing them under the bus, sometimes doing all these things doesn't press the right buttons that you're hoping that it would.
The next generation of stars is here, and they're changing the game. Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise is just the beginning. With the 2025 WNBA draft on the horizon, all eyes are on players like Paige Bueckers. Will she find her groove and live up to the hype? The big question now is, can the old guard keep up? Auriemma's future success depends on his ability to adapt. Will he embrace the new style of play that's captivating fans, or will he stick to his guns and risk being left behind? One thing is clear. Women's basketball is entering an exciting new era. Whether you're a coach, player, or fan, you better be ready for the ride. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe. More videos are on screen now.